I'm Mungo Darkmatter, and welcome to Dark Matters. Today on Dark Matters, I'm going to show you how to load Windows 8.1 Preview on a virtual machine. And I'm going to just explain quickly what Windows 8.1 Preview is and what a virtual machine is. Now, Microsoft is coming out at the end of the year with Windows 8.1, which is a free upgrade for everyone. And what it really is what they generally call a service pack, which is a collection of all the patches that they've done during the year to a new operating system or to an older operating system. And they sometimes make improvements to it, particularly if it's the first service pack, so they may change some things in it. And they've had a lot of complaints about Windows 8's interface, so two of the major things they've done are they allow you to boot up into Windows without having to look at the Metro interface, which is the interface with all the squares that you can click on to go to different programs. And it will let you boot up right to the desktop. And the other thing is, down in the corner there is an icon for a start menu again, like you used to have a start menu. It doesn't work exactly like the old start menu, but it's better than having none at all, I guess. Alright, so anyway, Windows 8.1 Preview is a version of Windows 8.1 they put out so that people can try it out and look at it, particularly IT people or anyone who's interested, to see if they like the new version. Now, they have two versions of the preview. One you can just install onto your machine and it will change your Windows 8 into 8.1 preview, and then in theory when 8.1 actually comes out you run that and then it fixes it so that it's now 8.1. But not even Microsoft recommends doing that, so don't do that unless you have like a spare machine that you only have Windows 8 on and you use it for testing and you don't care if you have to reload it totally. Also, you would have to back up any data on your machine if you use that method, just in case something, didn't go as well as you planned it to. But there's another version where it's the full operating system and it's just like a preview of it, and you can load it onto a spare machine if you have it. But if you don't have a spare machine, then you can load it on a virtual machine. And in case you don't know what a virtual machine is, that's basically a piece of software that you can run on another operating system. You can run it on Windows. They make them for Macintosh. They make them for Linux. So you run this software and you have basically a virtual machine, and you can load another operating system onto that. And it's kind of a self-contained thing. It basically runs off of a file that's on your hard drive, and you can uninstall the program and the operating system without doing any major alterations to your operating system. So you can test other operating systems without having a second machine and without doing damage to your actual machine. So there's a couple of programs available to do that. One is VMware, which costs money. It's an old program. It's been updated many times. It works really great. But chances are you may not need all of or probably won't need all of the features that has if you just want to test out an operating system, particularly Windows 8.1 Preview. So there's also a program called VirtualBox, which is free, and you can get it from Oracle. I will put a link in the description of this video below where you can get that. And you basically load that program and you have a virtual machine. Now the other thing you have to do, which is a bit tricky because the Microsoft side isn't really set up real well, I don't think. It's a little bit confusing. Is you need to get an ISO version of the install for Windows 8.1 Preview. And an ISO is just a disk image, an image of like a CD or a DVD. And you can burn that to a DVD, and you can load it using your virtual machine or into another machine if you have a spare machine that you can load freshly. Or most virtual machines will allow you to just take the ISO and boot from that and load it without having to go through the extra step of making a DVD, which is the way we're going to do it. So first I want to show you where the ISOs are. Here's the Windows 8.1 Preview web page, and I'll put a link to that in the description below so you can get to it relatively easily. And right down here, there's a little link that says "Get it now." You can also get to this page by Googling Windows 8.1 Preview, and it will be one of the top links that they give back to you. So I'll hit "Get it now." And, it's just up here about ISO files. You can read through all this and IT professionals. But really, you have to scroll way down here. That's a little farther up than it used to be. Here are where all the different ISO files are. At the top is the English version, the US English version, and then you have the United Kingdom English version. And then different language versions on the way down. So they put quite a few different language versions of Windows Preview, which is nice, particularly if you need one of those other languages or want to check one of those other languages out. They have a 64-bit and a 32-bit version. I went and downloaded the 32-bit because I just want to see what it looks like and try it out. So I don't care if it's a little bit faster when using 64 bits instead of 32 bits. So that's fine for me. I'm not using it for production. This is a test machine, and the file's a little smaller. You can download either one of these, and it will be a good demonstration for you. Up here is the product key that you use to activate the ISO. So that's where you get the ISO for Windows Preview. Now the next thing is, let me show you real quick. This is the VirtualBox website. If you want to go and download VirtualBox, it's www.virtualbox.org, and I'll put that, like I said, in the description of the video. And so you would need to download this first, unless you already have VirtualBox or VMware loaded onto your machine, because you're going to need the virtual machine program first. I've already installed VirtualBox onto this machine, so I'm going to just start it up right now. I'm going to install this using VirtualBox. You can do the same with VMware or whatever virtual machine program that you have, and it's going to be a similar process. I'm using VirtualBox because it's free, and so anybody can use this. So even if you have a different version of a virtual machine, you could download this and load it on here if you wanted to. So with VirtualBox, we need to create a new machine, and we're going to click on that. And what we want to do is we want to name it, and I'm going to name it Windows 8.1 Preview, because that's what it is. And then it will ask you here the type of operating system. And the reason it does that is it's trying to help you configure the machine best for that operating system, so you don't have to sit there and try to figure out how much memory do I need and so and so. So we're going to go Microsoft Windows, and we're going to select the version, and this is 8.1 right there. There's also a 64-bit version in there, like if you were loading the 64-bit version. So I'm going to go with that, and then we're going to go next. Now, this is pretty good right here. It recommends the size to be 1 gigabyte of memory, of RAM memory. You really want it to be at least 1 gigabyte. I had another machine and it recommended half that. Now it tries to look at your machine and not use up all of your memory, so sometimes it goes on the little bit of a low side. But since this is something you're going to just test out, you want to put a little bit more memory in it, so it's not going to be a production machine that you're using all of the time. So you're only using it to test it out, so you can put a little bit more memory on it. I'm going to go ahead and put it up to I think 2 gigabytes. You could put it up to more. You could put it up to half your machine memory. Typically you would want to balance that depending on how often you were going to use your virtual machine and how much stuff you were going to use in it. For example, if you're not, whenever you open your virtual machine, you're mostly using your virtual machine and not your host machine, you might want to put a little bit more in it, because that way you can open up more applications in it. But we're going to start with 2 gigabytes. You can always go back and change this. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and just use default and create a 25 gigabyte virtual hard drive. When you're done with this, you want to install it and get rid of the virtual machine. They call it an image because instead of having a hard drive with the operating system and everything on it, you have a file that it has all that information on it. And in this case, it's going to make a 25 gigabyte file. So once you're done with it, when you're just testing something, you want to make sure you get rid of those, particularly if you're testing a lot of operating systems and stuff, because you'll eventually fill up the drive using them, because you are using part of your system resources to set this up. And that's the thing with a virtual machine. You're going to be using some of your system resources. So it's not going to perform as well as if you had it on the same machine with all the system resources. Alright, so let's create this. I'm going to just go with the default here. Now it says dynamically allocated or fixed size. Fixed size is a little bit faster if you're using it for production. Dynamically allocated, it won't use up as much space, so it will be able to change size. So let's go with that. And this is the limit on the amount. So with a dynamic one, it's going to make a smaller file too initially. So that will, if you don't get around to uninstalling it, or you don't in a while, pick that one. If you were going to make a permanent machine, like if you wanted to run Linux all the time, you might want to make it a fixed size because it will be faster then and run more efficiently. So let's create that. Alright, so now this is the machine right here. Okay, so now we're going to go to this virtual machine that we're going to load the Windows 8.1 preview on, and right click on it and go to settings. Then we're going to go to storage, and this icon right here will create a new DVD, and we're going to click on that and go add CD or DVD disk, and we're going to go choose disk, and this is going to set up a virtual DVD for us. And we're going to select the ISO image of the Windows 8.1 preview, and we're going to go open and OK. And now it will actually boot from the file on our hard drive instead of us having to make an image or burn the image into a DVD and boot it from there. Although that's another alternative. Alright, so we're going to double click on this virtual machine over here to start it up. And it starts booting up the disk image for us. I'm just kind of ignoring some of these pop-up boxes. Some of them just give you information about how the virtual machine software works, and others say you need to adjust this or that. When you're installing this yourself, read those boxes and do what they say, or make note of what they say, depending on what they're saying. Alright, so we're in the Windows setup screen. It says Windows 8 here, but this is actually 8.1. All these defaults are what I want, so I'm going to hit next, and then I'm going to hit install now. Alright, now it wants that secret key code or software key. So what I need to do is go over here and grab this and put it right here, so that when I click back on the VirtualBox, I can still see the product key. So I can type it in. It's NTTX3 RV. And then we're going to go here and just hit next. Accept the license terms. Go with this default up here, upgrade and install Windows. We don't want that one. Alright, we don't want to upgrade, we want custom install Windows. And what we're going to do here, there's unallocated space. This is a virtual drive. We're going to go new, and we're going to go apply, then OK. And it sets up the partitions we need. Then we're going to go next, and then we're going to let it install. It's going to take a little bit of time for this to install. Alright, so now it's restarting. It's going to restart and finish setting up Windows 8. Only the virtual machine's restarting, not the whole machine. So let's click OK on that. We do not want to press any key because we don't want it to start off the CD or the DVD. So it's starting up off of the virtual hard drive here. Alright, now it wants us to test all of this stuff. You can select the colors up here, or the colors for your screen up here. You can go with this green here. And heck, let's go over here. Let's go for a red. I kind of like the red. All right. So you can name this PC whatever you want. I'm going to just name it Test PC. Make it easy. Let's use Express Settings. Now they want us to set up account. We're going to go to create a new account. And then we're going to go here and sign in without a Microsoft account. So then it comes up with this thing, we create an account on the machine. I'm going to just put the username as Mungo. And then you can put a password in if you like. There's no hint for the password. And let's see what we got. Now it's going to take a little while it runs through this, setting up all the user profile and everything. Alright, we'll speed through this section really quick because Windows is just doing its thing and it doesn't even ask for us to give any input. The important thing to remember is most of the time you can just select Next, particularly on this where you're just setting up kind of a demo for yourself and it's not a production machine. Alright, by default it comes up with the Metro desktop. You can actually change that in 8.1 so that it goes right to the desktop. If we go to desktop now, you see there's a little icon here that replaces what was the start menu, and if we click here it actually by default goes back to the start page. And if we click back on it again, it goes back to the desktop. If we right click and go to personalize right here, we can go to taskbar and navigation link right down there and go to navigation. And if we select this up here, it says go to desktop instead of start when I sign in. So instead of going to the Metro start page, it will go directly to the desktop just as it would in Windows 7. And we can adjust the start button a little bit down here, and so that instead of going to the Windows Metro start page, we can go show apps view automatically when I go to start. And we can go apply here and OK, and let's shut this. So the difference between that is when we click there, it shows your apps by name right there. So you can adjust. Escape there to get out of that. You can adjust what comes up under the start menu by going into personalize it. So those are kind of some of the main features of Windows 8.1. There are other features and differences in 8.1, and that's why they've provided you with a preview copy so you can kind of check them out. I'm Mungo Darkmatter, and this has been Dark Matters, and whatever you do, enjoy technology.